going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga breakdown review, where today we're going to be reviewing a fan manga entitled Dragon Ball AF, which is a fan-made manga set within its own timeline outside of the main canon of Akira Toriyama and Toei Animation. As for many years now, I've been reviewing and introducing all kinds of Dragon Ball fan mangas to the world created by the community for the community, so if you guys are interested in seeing and reading up on incredible stories and concepts such as Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball Legendary, Dragon Ball New Age, Dragon Ball X, and many others, then feel free to check out the Dragon Ball fan manga playlist in the description box for more videos such as this, as right now we are going to be diving into a brand new manga chapter. As before we begin, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to be the first to know when a new video is posted onto this channel, as we kick off Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 1 with the narration having to overlook a set of planets and stating Planet Frieza number 79, and on this planet it looks like we have a few scientists that are conducting heavy research and trying to pay close attention as to what is to happen, as we get to see one of the members on the planet goes on to state, can it be? The signal! Lord Ize, it's about to be born! This is an urgent message to all troops! As we see suddenly this individual turns around and a door is beginning to open, in which on the radio signal the message goes on to state, any troops nearby, hurry to meet him. I repeat, Lord Ize is being born. As we get to see each individual member having to behold a being having to emerge for the very first time, as this being eerily enough begins to resemble Lord Frieza, as one of the troops begins to congratulate Ize and saying, congratulations on your birth, Lord Ize. You've done a fine job towing all of these long years, with Ize having to reply by saying, is that my name? Ize, as one of the soldiers replies by saying, yes sir, your late father Lord Frieza gave it to you, and that's when Ize is like, I see, with the individual having to talk to Ize replying by saying, not to rush you Lord Ize, but is there anything you need? Is there something you want? Just ask, with Ize looking out and saying, alright, I want to fight a strong opponent, with one of the members having to reply, a strong opponent, as Ize goes on to state, I want to let loose the power that I have preserved for all of these years. I can't stand just idling around. As the soldiers reply by saying, understood, well then, I will take you to a planet with strong warriors right away, as very casually Ize replies by saying, oh, and bring me a cold drink too, and you can immediately tell that all of these foot soldiers on board are terrified, as one of them goes on to reply by saying, yes sir, I'll have one right away, as the narration goes on to state, the entire universe was about to face a danger the likes of which it had never seen before. As we open up chapter 1 of Dragon Ball AF with a recap of the past and stating up until now, Goku and the others have fought countless mighty opponents and continue to grow and develop in the process. They then finally defeated their strongest enemy, Omega Shenron, after a long and grueling battle, implying that Dragon Ball AF for young Gigi's version takes place after the events of Omega Shenron versus Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, in which the narration goes on to state 3 years have passed since that fierce fight, as we look out in the distance and it looks like someone is speaking to another person and saying, well, I'm off, watch out for the airplanes, right, as we see an individual begin to take off in the sky, and it turns out to be Pan, as the narration goes on to state, Pan is now 16 years old, she's currently attending a high school in West City, so Pan's all grown up, she's flying around, and as Pan is flying around, she goes on to say, there's the city, I'd better start descending, and the little beloved Pan that we've known from Dragon Ball GT is now basically grown up. She lands on the ground, and as she's beginning to walk, she notices that there is a bank robbery, very similar to how her father came across a bank robbery back in Dragon Ball Z. Now as this unfolds, we come to realize that it's Pilaf in the gang, as Pilaf goes on to state, damn it all, why do we have to do this? As Mai replies by saying, we've got no choice Lord Pilaf, we failed so many times that we don't even have enough money left to live on. As Shu replies by saying, man, we really are the worst, and Pan goes on to point the finger and saying, hey, hold it you guys, put down your weapons and surrender peacefully. If you resist, then you'll have to take me on. And everyone in the neighborhood's like, it's Pan, everything's gonna be alright, hang in there Pan. And Pilaf and the gang reply by saying, who the hell are you? If you interfere, we won't hesitate to kill the girl. And Pan replies by saying, looks like you really want to get hurt then, huh? And just like that, Pan swoops in and knocking out Shu, coming after Pilaf, basically rendering them obsolete as they're holding the girl hostage, which of course I really do love the portrayal of Pan so far in in this manga chapter because in Dragon Ball GT, Pan was only made out to be a crybaby. We didn't really see Pan amount to anything in Dragon Ball GT in my opinion, but then it's all down to Pan and Mai, as Mai replies by saying, "Why, you little," before getting kicked in the mouth. So by the end, we see all of the Pilaf members down on the floor, with Pan having to hover over them, as then quickly Shu pulls out a white flag and saying, "I surrender." And Pan replies by saying, "You should have just done that from the start. I'll leave the rest to you," as she points out to the police, as the police reply by saying, "Thank you for always helping us." And that's when Pan's like, "Man, I'll be late, I have to hurry up," as she quickly gets to school, and we get to see her in class talking to her friend, as one of her friends replies by saying, "You're always so good at everything you do, Pan." And Pan looks over and saying, "Huh? I mean, that's a little all of a sudden, don't you think?" As her friend replies by saying, "Seems like you should be a lot more popular than how you are." And Pan's like, "Geez, leave me alone," as her friend replies by saying, "Well, your grandpa is the strongest man in the world after all," as Pan replies by saying, "There's probably a ton of people stronger than Grandpa Satan, that is." Interestingly enough, one of the other students looks up at Pan and saying, "Speaking of Satan, is it true that he's recently decided on a successor?" With Pan replying by saying yes, and we get to see in her head a very familiar face shows up, as Pan goes on to state it's Papa Yaman. And the other students are questioning as to who this person is called, referring to him as Oob, and that's when Pan says, "Yeah, Papa Yaman, that's Oob," and basically insinuating that Oob had become the successor to Mr. Satan. Now we go back to the Budokai tournament, and we see the announcer. He's old and crusty now, as he goes on to state, "Let's begin the finals of the Tenkaichi Budokai Adult Division," with the announcer having to state, "Contestant Papa Yaman was the champion of the last tournament and is well known as the city's defender of justice. His opponent is Captain Beef. His opponent, Captain Beef, is competing in the tournament today for the first time. Now then, start the final round." And there's no contest here, because as we get to see Captain Beef in pursuit of Oob, Oob is just casually evading his punches. Captain Beef doesn't look like he can actually land any sort of shot on Oob, and then that's when Oob delivers one devastating punch to the gut, and we see how Captain Beef's eyes just pop out of his head, because all it took was one punch to the gut to bring this man down, as the announcer claims Contestant Beef looks like he's incapable of fighting any further, so Contestant Papa Yaman is the champion, and everyone is cheering him on, especially Hercule. And that's when we get to see an older version of Hercule appear, with the entire audience chanting, "Satan, Satan," and Mr. Hercule goes on to state, "This may be sudden, but I'm borrowing the stage for a bit to tell everyone some sad news. I am retiring as a martial artist," with Hercule having to ask Oob, "Oob, will you take your mask off?" And that's when Oob removes the mask, and everyone's like, "Whoa, Contestant Papa Yaman has removed his mask," as Hercule grabs the mic and saying, "I'm nominating Papa Yaman, or should I say Oob here, as my successor. You all saw Oob's power earlier just now. I've drilled my martial arts into him. Knowing him, he'll definitely be able to protect everyone from now on. I'm truly grateful to have reached this point in my life. Thank you all for supporting me for so long." And the crowd erupts. "You've done a great job. Thank you so much. You've done your best." And Hercule's beginning to cry and saying, "Oh man, you guys," and everyone's chanting, "Satan, Satan." And then as Oob grabs the mic, he goes on to state, "Everyone, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Oob, and I'll do my best to become as magnificent of a martial artist as Mr. Satan." As Oob takes the bow and saying, "Mr. Satan, thank you for all you've done." As later we get to see how the Tenkaichi Budokai tournament has now concluded and everyone goes home. Now with that being said, over elsewhere, somewhere out in the universe, we get to see how someone is beginning to fight off against Ize, and all we hear cry out in the distance is "Weak, weak, far too weak." And that's when Ize, seemingly enough, is eradicating an entire race and saying, "I won't be able to let out any of my power like this. Every shrinking one of them just dies when I barely even tap them. I cannot put up with this any longer." And that's when one of the minions that serves Ize goes on to state, "Please calm yourself, Lord Ize. Come to think of it, there's that Saiyan who defeated Lord Frieza. I think his name was Son Goku. He ought to have provided a little resistance." And that's when Ize is like, "Son Goku. So the man who defeated Papa. Sounds interesting. What planet is he on?" With his minion having to reply by saying, "Please wait a little while. I'll look into it. It's a planet called Earth, located far off in the frontier." And that's when Ize is like, "Earth, huh? Well then, we'll be heading to this Earth right away then." As the soldier agrees, with Ize having to ominously say, "Wait for me, Son Goku." While we head back to Capsule Corp, an inside of the gravity room, we see a very familiar face appear as the narration goes on to state Vegeta continued his training, reaching the point where he can also become a Super Saiyan 3. So for the first time, we get to see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta in the gravity room, and he's actually been able to perfect and train long enough to where he even unlocked Super Saiyan 3 even after achieving Super Saiyan 4. And meanwhile, we see Vegeta inside. He looks like he's under a ton of pressure. He's throwing kicks, he's throwing punches, he's flipping around, and Vegeta looks like he's taking his time. However, it doesn't look like he's actually missed a beat, because even after 3 years of fighting Omega Shenron, he still managed to get significantly more powerful than how he was before. And as Vegeta is resting for a moment, he goes on to state, I've gotten pretty used to being a Super Saiyan 3 before he powers down, and saying, however, it seems that I can't become a Super Saiyan 4 no matter how I continue to train. Apparently, you need a tail to become a Super Saiyan 4 after all. Do I really have to keep relying on this thing? And we see how he's holding on to one of the Capsule Corp items and saying, I'll become even stronger. Kakarot's definitely thinking so too. Meanwhile, back inside Capsule Corp, we see two familiar faces begin to speak as Bulma and Chi-Chi engage in conversation, as Bulma goes on to state, really now? I'd wish he cut that out. How long do Saiyans have to fight before they're really, satisfied? Vegeta's almost 60 now, and that's when Chi-Chi replies by saying, he'll be that way till the day he dies. Goku's out training somewhere too, and we don't hear from him one bit, and that's when Bulma replies by saying, so Son still hasn't come home, with Chi-Chi replying by saying, I've already given up on him, which I really wouldn't consider to be the case, especially knowing Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship since the beginning of Dragon Ball, so that's the only thing I would disagree with in the fact that Chi-Chi just gave up on Goku. But meanwhile, we get to see how Vegeta's walking past his daughter, and we see how his daughter says, Papa, are you training again? Papa, you stink, and Vegeta's like, damn it, he's in his feelings now because his daughter just basically roasted him. But over out somewhere in the city, we see another familiar face, and it happens to be Goten and Trunks. And we see how Goten is sitting down wearing a Capsule Corp jacket, and then out of nowhere Trunks appears and saying, hey Trunks, and that's when Trunks asks Goten, what do you mean Trunks? I'm company president, your boss. Anyway, what are you doing here? And Goten's like, oh, I just wanted to take a little break. And Trunks is like, geez man, you never change. So here, it looks like Trunks took over the family business and becoming the president, and Goten is actually working for him, which I find to be very enjoyable because these two definitely need some development and growth over the years, especially having to follow with them having to be so young, in which Trunks basically goes on to tell Goten that if it were not for him, in which Trunks goes on to lecture Goten in reminding him that it was because of Trunks that allowed him to get married, and he wants Goten to take his job serious. Considering the fact that Goten is married now, we find out that Goten is about to become a father because he receives a phone call from his wife letting Goten know that she is pregnant, and Goten seems to be very happy, and Trunks is like, good grief, what a simpleton, because Trunks wants Goten to do the best that he possibly can at his workplace, but Goten seems to be a little off edge, off balance sometimes, not having to pay attention, always having to worry. But it looks like now he's about to become a father as we pan to a different father and seeing Gohan once more, and Gohan goes on to state, there we go, alright, now I've got all my references materials in one place. But then all of a sudden, as Gohan is stacking up books, he begins to stop, and he says to himself, wait, what is this key? Something is heading for Earth. But just as Gohan picks up this energy vibration, we also get to see back at Capsule Corp, Vegeta also senses something massive and saying, who the hell is this? With Goten and Trunks saying the same thing, as Trunks goes on to say, Goten, did you notice that? And Goten's like, yeah, it's incredible. Pan notices as well and saying, wait, what's this outrageous key? Even out there somewhere in the world, Oob even goes on to state something's approaching, as we see a pair of eyes just begin to stare out in the distance with this cold, maniacal look, as once the ship gets close enough to spot Earth, Eyes goes on to state, so that's Earth, huh? Alright then, let's see if you can keep me amused, Son Goku. And Gohan is out there rushing out in the distance and saying, who else can this be? I've got a nasty premonition about this. So Gohan is trying to get to the location as quickly as possible because everyone who's collectively on Earth is beginning to feel this energy. And finally we see how Lord Ize arrives and them having to remind him, Lord Ize, we've arrived at planet Earth. While down on Earth we get to see how Vegeta and Trunks and Pan, everyone gets together as Vegeta goes on to state they should be coming down here any minute. And Pan gets there and saying, I'm here we go. And Trunks is like, Pan, I mean, why did you come here? And Pan's like, I sensed an incredible key, so I figured I'd come. And that's when Trunks is like, it could be someone really dangerous. You better go home. And Pan's like, no way. I'm a Saiyan child, just like you. I'm gonna fight too. And Vegeta doesn't really say anything until Oob arrives, as Oob goes on to state, it's been a while since I've seen all of you. Gohan arrives and saying everyone is all here. As Gohan touches down, Pan's happy to see her father, but then Vegeta goes on to state they're here. As everyone looks up and seeing a very familiar spacecraft appear in the sky, as this craft brings so much fear upon our heroes because we get to see Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Oob, Pan, even Vegeta shaking. They're shaking because as soon as this craft appeared in the sky, they can feel the energy coming within it. They can feel this ominous presence. And just as we get to see how the spaceship lands, Gohan goes on to state, haven't I seen that somewhere before? That's it. It looks like Frieza's spaceship. And Goten's like, so it's Frieza? And Vegeta's like, no, this guy's ki is vastly larger. It's someone else. Anyway, let's go. There is no point in us just standing around here. So we get to see how they arrive at Frieza's ship, but it's not Frieza who exits the ship, but instead his son, as his son goes on to state, so this is Earth. Not bad. As Ize looks on over to his minions and saying, let's go find Son Goku at once. Where is he? As his soldiers reply by saying, right, we're looking into it. And then as they're trying to detect where Goku is, their scouters are going off and saying, there are 6 large battle powers and they're close by. And Ize is like, what? And then he looks out over in the distance and he sees Vegeta, Goten, Trunks, Gohan, Pan, and Oob. And it's because of this, Ize replies by saying, who are you people? And that's when Vegeta goes on to reply by saying, that's my line, just who the hell are you? And then that's when one of the minions that Ize has recognizes and saying, why, you're that traitor Vegeta, aren't you? Why are you here? And Vegeta's like, looks like you guys are Frieza's underlings, but what are you doing here? With the gentleman having to reply by saying, watch your tongue. This gentleman over here is Lord Frieza's son, Lord Ize. And Gohan's like, wait, Frieza's son? And Vegeta's angry and saying, what business does Frieza's son have on Earth? As Ize replies by saying, I've come to kill this man named Son Goku, the one that killed my father. And Vegeta laughs and saying, so you came for revenge. Don't make me laugh. You're all nothing but a bunch of Frieza's goons. As Ize replies by saying, you misunderstand me. I merely want to fight strong opponents. I have no interest in revenge. And Vegeta replies by saying, in that case, I'll take you on. And Ize is like, are you strong? And Vegeta's like, of course. I'm greater than Kakarot. And Ize is like, interesting. Well then, will you kindly show me your power? And Vegeta replies laughingly by saying, you're gonna regret this. Don't you guys interfere. I'll do this one alone. And Trunks is like, Dad, Vegeta's like, Gohan, and Vegeta's like, enough. This is my fight. As Vegeta clenches his fist, the ground begins to break, and Ize is looking out very surprisingly as Vegeta begins to transform. More and more and more. Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, and even Oob is looking out and saying, what? And Ize is just standing there, very surprised as to what he's looking at until Vegeta goes from Super Saiyan 2 slowly into Super Saiyan 3. And as Vegeta achieves Super Saiyan 3, Gohan is shocked and saying, whoa, Vegeta's become a Super Saiyan 3? And Oob is like, incredible, this is really impressive. And Vegeta looks out at Ize and saying, are you ready? With Ize replying by saying, whenever you wish. And as Vegeta is standing there in all his glory, electricity everywhere, thunderbolts everywhere, Vegeta is confidently just waiting until Ize makes a move. And then that's when Goten and Trunks are just standing there as the tension builds. And then finally, at long last, Vegeta strikes. Now, as Vegeta goes on the attack, we see how he strikes Ize but misses. He can't seem to hit him, but also at the same time, we see how Ize begins to attack Vegeta, and Vegeta successfully blocks off. However, during the course of this fight, Vegeta does manage to land a very thunderous shot to Ize's jaw, but Ize quickly turns it around by kicking Vegeta in the chin. So this fight, relatively in the beginning, looks to be a back and forth paced battle because it looks like Vegeta is trying to get the upper hand, and in which case, to some degree, he has some success. But this fight is just absolutely barbaric in nature because everything that Vegeta does to Ize quickly delivers that back to Vegeta. So every single time Vegeta gets a hit in, Ize hits Vegeta right back. So this fight is very engaging considering how Vegeta managed to teleport behind Ize. He's trying to elbow him, but it looks like Ize is very fast considering the fact that this is after GT. So this opponent here has to be way more powerful than what we saw previous to Dragon Ball GT in terms of Baby and Android 17. Perhaps maybe not Omega level yet, but we get to see how Ize quickly turns the tides in delivering a thunderous elbow shot to Vegeta's jaw, and Vegeta goes flying through a pile of rocks. He emerges right back up as Vegeta sticks his hand out in the classic Big Bang position and saying, "Big Bang attack!" And he launches this massive Super Saiyan 3 Big Bang attack directly down on Ize as everyone's beginning to panic and say, "Whoa!" because the blast itself is unbelievably large, and just with complete ease, Ize just deflects the Big Bang attack into the sky, and Vegeta's shocked, Gohan's shocked, Trunks is shocked, and this blast is hurtling up in the sky, and we see how Ize just immediately then rushes towards Vegeta's direction and the fight resumes. Now here, Vegeta seems to be a bit confused yet irritated on the idea that such a person like this was able to deflect Vegeta's blast so easily, and the fight continues, and it looks like there's a struggle between them both because as they're fighting, as they're exchanging shots, it looks to be an evenly fought battle, and I really do love the engagement process behind this because it's the first time that we're seeing Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta in action, and he's fighting against someone who you can't really tell how strong he is yet, but then as the fight continues, Ize goes on to state, "Splendid! You're the greatest yet! I've never faced such a worthy opponent before," and Vegeta saying to himself, "What the? His power is far greater than Frieza's, there's no comparison, I mean, but this can't be," as all of a sudden a voice cries out to Gohan and saying, "Gohan, can you hear me?" And Gohan's like, "That voice, is that you, Piccolo?" And Piccolo replies by saying, "Yes, that's right, it's been a long time. I'm speaking directly to your mind from the afterlife." And Gohan's like, "My mind?" As Piccolo goes on to state, "Frieza has informed me of something terrible." And Gohan's like, "Something terrible?" As Piccolo goes on to state, "Frieza and his family come from planet Winter. Immediately after being born, people there cover themselves in ice and enter a taunting period. The longer this period lasts, the stronger the warrior will become. It seems that in Frieza's case, this taunting period lasted for about 5 years, while for King Cold, it lasted for 6. So in Ize's taunting period, it was over 50 years long, which further goes to explain the immense power that this individual has, as Ize looks at Vegeta and saying, "Well then, how about you entertain me a little more," as the manga chapter comes to an end. So, what have we learned? We learned that Ize is the direct descendant of Frieza, but of course with this taunting period, it looks like Frieza and King Cold both stayed inside of these chambers for 4 to 6 years, and Ize has been in there for 50, so you can only imagine the longer you stay in there, the more powerful you become. Another great concept behind this is seeing how everyone else was able to live their lives after Dragon Ball GT. As an example, Goten, Trunks, seeing how everyone was able to grow on their own, including Pan as well. But now the question lingers with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta having to battle against Ize now, and knowing the fact that he can't really do anything to stop him, it's really going to come down to Vegeta, Gohan, and everyone else having to work together well enough until Goku arrives. So in the end, guys, let me know your overall thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you guys think about this antagonist? What are your overall thoughts on seeing Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta in action? And what are your overall thoughts as to what is going to be the end result of this individual having to fight Gohan and Vegeta as the manga chapters continue? Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once again, if you guys are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications. Tune back in for more if you guys enjoyed it. Slap a like on the video. Tune back in for Young Gigi's Dragon Ball AF manga chapter number 2, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Cue my motherfucking outro, bitch.